Clearly, many people are predicting a hung parliament this time around, just as we had in 2010. Given the fact that the Conservatives have had to put in some pretty austere economic policies, and given the fact that Labour is still to some extent blamed for the difficulties we had before the last election, it's probably a fairly good guess that neither of them are going to be able to win a very comfortable majority, if they win a majority at all. So it could be that the Lib Dems, even though they'll lose seats at the next election, will still hold the balance of power. If David Cameron holds on to number 10, David Cameron will still be the leader of the Conservative Party in 2015 and probably for a few years after that. If, however, he loses the next election, he is toast and he will be replaced by another Conservative candidate. As to who that will be, that's a difficult one. There are some people, I think, who suggest that Boris Johnson may be able to make a quick return to Parliament and stand in a leadership contest. That is possible. He still remains a bit of a favourite among the Tory faithful. I think some MPs are less enthusiastic about Boris. The other front runner, I guess, would be Theresa May, the current Home Secretary. She has quite a fair bit of support in the constituencies and some support among MPs. What we know from past leadership contests, however, is that sometimes it's the dark horse who comes through the middle who wins. The most important thing for the Conservative Party, as it is for all parties, is to elect someone who has A, a safe seat, and B, is capable of uniting the party. It's only then that they'll think about the different kinds of electoral appeals that those candidates can make. The Conservatives used to win quite reasonable support in many parts of northern England. The problem for them is that while they still get votes in rural areas in northern England, they're locked out of the cities. So the Conservative Party really needs to mount a kind of decades-long campaign really to try and break back into the cities. And one way of doing that will be to break back first in local government, but that's proving very, very difficult to do. They don't have many councillors in big cities in England. So I think it will take time, but they have to do this. Otherwise, they are writing off a large swathe of the electorate, and that's going to make it very, very difficult for them to win a comfortable overall majority, not just at the next election, but in elections to come. UKip seem to have found a formula that means that they could well poll nearer 10% at the general election. Now that might not be enough for them to win seats themselves, but at that kind of level they would possibly stop the Conservatives from winning seats. And I think probably that's UKip's biggest role at the moment, and that's of course the Conservatives' biggest fear, that they may do quite well, but if UKip poll anything like double figures, then the Conservatives really are in trouble.